All right. Welcome to Unbreakable, the GGR podcast. I'm the host, Jake Schaefer. I am so excited today because I have the guest of all guests of all time, and I will die on that hill. Today we got the man, the myth, the legend, Jason Mason. Jason and I have known each other, for
Mm,
I was like 20, what are we, about 3 years apart?
yeah, I mean, how long has it been? When was the first
So, I
time?
mean, 20, I was probably like 20 when I met you,
Yeah,
Jill. So yeah, I'm old, so like 20 plus years, 20
yeah,
25 years. So man,
yeah.
it is exciting. So I got one thing I gotta go over for everybody, and then we'll jump in. So the legal disclaimer, this podcast is intended for information purposes only and not intended as a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Although I am a licensed mental health counselor, I'm not acting as a counselor through this podcast. If you're experiencing emotional distress or mental health concerns, I strongly encourage you to seek support from a qualified mental health professional in your area. Any references to mental health experiences, behaviors, or case examples are completely hypothetical, generalized, and composite in nature and do not reflect any specific client or case I've worked on. These stories are inspired by patterns of professional observations from years of clinical experience, and all identifying details have been altered to protect confidentiality and comply with ethical standards. Sincerely, if you find yourself in crisis and need immediate help, please contact a mental health provider in your area. Call the National Crisis Line or text 988 or go to your nearest emergency room and dial 911. Help and hope are available. So, thanks everybody for that. All right. So, Jason, thanks, man, for being
Yo,
on the podcast. So I'm going to throw out, we talked a little bit beforehand about what I'm doing and what the podcast is about. I just like to throw out the concepts just for everybody. So we can talk about anything grit, growth, resilience related. So anything you want to talk about, I'm going to listen, ask some good questions, and we're going to go. But how we're wrapping the ideas on here, we're looking at grit as the concept popularized by Angela Duckworth, the combination of perseverance and passion in pursuit of long-term goals. Growth, the process of developing, increasing, or improving. And resilience, the ability to adapt, recover, and go stronger in the face of stress, adversity, trauma, or challenges. So, man, it's like, wow, I'm just so excited. I'm so excited. We don't get a chance to catch up as
I
often as
know.
we want to, because we're both adults and like have families and job responsibilities and stuff.
Yeah, I know. I
I'm
wish that
excited.
geographically this allowed us to do it in person, but that'll be the episode 54. We'll do it in
Right,
person.
54,
Yeah,
7,300. Right,
yeah, whatever.
obviously.
Well, yeah, we'll
We'll
do
get
it.
a full studio.
Yeah,
So I do want to, for the audience, go over some of your highlights. I think one of the cool parts of this episode, where I'm so excited to get you as a first guest, is like we've known each other for so long, but at the same time, our paths have converged, and I think as we used to share time together, the GGR space for both of us is we weren't in like high school and early like college years, we weren't people that thought super highly of ourselves and our abilities. Like
right.
my confidence
Yeah,
was super low, and we've had those
yeah,
conversations. It's fair to say, like you were
yep,
kind of filling in the same place, and both of us started kicking in and making decisions and trying to accomplish some things despite not feeling overly confident. So that's what I think is going to be a cool part of the story. But this is Jason's highlights, his highlight reel, so to speak. Um, so you recently, I don't know, fairly recently, but won an award, social media award for his work, uh, for getting all firefighter unions across North America. So was that related to the legislation?
yeah. Cancer coverage for all fire unions across the North America.
So
So
you accomplished pass a legislation passing for coverage for firefighters cancer treatments.
yeah, just for coverage. So making sure guys are covered. So in the state of Iowa, there are there were 14 cancers that were covered. Um, and you know, that there's so many more than just 14 cancers.
Right,
When they initially passed it, it was just like, well, you guys go in and we're going to cover like heart, lung, and then they picked a few other ones. Well, I had a buddy that was diagnosed with liver cancer. And I mean, as most people know, or maybe don't know, like your liver is a filtration system, one of the filtration systems for your body, and like so much goes through there. And
right,
his cancer was not covered. So, like, as firefighters, we're exposed to, so many different things. Like homes nowadays are not built like they were in the
right.
50s and 60s. Like
Chemical
everything
treatments that went into
plastic,
everything, right?
synthetic, like glue, resin, whatever. And it just does not burn the same way. Like much
Okay.
faster, it's a dirtier burn. And so, that stuff just gets on your clothing. And anyway, I could go on about this for a very long
Yeah,
time. I'll try
which
to
we
sum.
will. So, okay, so hold the thought
Okay.
because that's
Sorry.
that's
Sorry.
one aspect. But I want to clarify to make sure I had it right for sure.
Yeah.
So, I've been a firefighter for 19 years,
Yep.
okay, in the greater Des Moines area,
Yep. Yep.
right? You have finished three 100-mile races, which someone who won't run like 100 yards is. So three, let me emphasize, three 100-mile races, organized several firefighter welfare funds that have raised over $100,000. You were working on, last time we talked, you were working on a master's degree.
Yep.
You
Done.
completed that.
Yep.
So, and what was that in?
Um, Public administration and executive leadership. Yeah.
Okay. So master's. Um, you and your son Matthew were able to get a following as the Iowa Hype Kid. Uh,
Yeah.
so a follow-up tribute. So George Kittle was like one of his favorite players, right?
Yeah.
So these guys are hilarious. You got to find it, Google it. It's super freaking awesome if you're a football fan, but especially as an Iowa fan myself. And it was crazy for me because I was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Like I didn't know that was a thing. I hadn't seen it yet. And so super cool. And then you also tried out and walked on at Iowa State. Remember, that's
Yep.
been a long time. So you walked on at Iowa State as a walk-on football player.
Yep.
Okay. So that's a that's a that's a list, man. That's a
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about? Like what jumps out at you is something that if you want to communicate with people, express to people, even connect to somebody that's looking interested in the GGR space or wanting to do something for themselves, just talk about something that you're interested in like,
Yeah.
sharing.
That's a good question. I mean, I think there's a lot to that. I think just a little background about myself, like you had said, I wasn't always, someone that maybe, and this is like no discredit to my parents, but I just was not really, it was just like, oh, we're just this family, like we're not gonna push you into anything like athletically or academically, like just kind of, guide your own future, whatever. And so, in high
I,
school.
we're gonna keep talking. One big one, I don't know how we both missed. You also lost your brother to cancer. That's how we know each other, is
Yeah.
through the cancer organization. So
Yep.
I don't think we mentioned that. So that obviously started off with a hard personal experience too, which I know
Yeah,
family well. So yeah. So I mean, keep going. But that as I'm talking, I was like, oh, that might be a reference point for the audience. That would be important. 'Cause-
for sure. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I was, just bigger kid, wrestled heavyweight in high school, did okay, not great. Um, just, kind of a C average student, just did enough to get by. My brother passes away my senior year of high school. And after that I just kind of stopped caring, was just like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Uh, you know, Ballooned up. I was like 273 was my heaviest.
okay.
And I get to college and I'm just like, man, what am I doing with my life? Like what's happening? And when you're like 20, 19, 20 years old, you're just like, uh, I don't have much time left. Like I have to do something right, not
Right.
realizing
The
that,
pressure, right.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
no
yeah,
perspective.
not
If I don't
realizing
have,
like,
if I'm
oh, I've got a lot of time,
right,
but
if I don't have my life together by the time I'm 22 years old, I'm pretty much a failure.
right, which is completely ridiculous now. And like, I hate that when I see people that are like, I have to know what I'm doing going into college, or I have to know this. And it's like, no, just, enjoy the journey. And, that's better than the actual destination. But
Right.
yeah,
But
so I
that
mean,
pressure
just,
was on there. Right.
yeah. So, just kind of found myself, I guess, through, maybe working out and just really enjoyed pushing myself as far as I could go. Had a desk job, and then I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to push myself a little more. Found myself in the fire department when I was 26, and here we are 19 years later. So, um, yeah, I think. Uh, I mean, there's a lot. Sorry, there's probably a lot that you were asking for. I think. Um, a big thing to me, like over the years, is just um, resilience is a huge thing. Like I know we talked about that briefly.
Right.
Um,
So talk more about that because with that definition and even in plain language, it's been an interesting concept. I'm a nerd, so I look through research. I got a master's degree in counseling and all that, so I'm a nerd out that way. And I think it's important to like not over define it and get it in real time, like what it looks, but that j- just with those circumstances, right, Jason, losing your brother and you were hitting briefs of depression, and it was traumas used differently in the culture now, but it qualified. Like that's a traumatic thing to lose your brother at such a young age and to watch him go through his cancer treatment. Like that's a torturous,
yeah,
right? Like to have to watch him suffer, like that's
yeah,
awful.
yeah.
And so, I mean, just talk kind of what you see as resilient at that time or as you grew, like what did resiliency mean to you, or how do you reflect on it now?
That's a good question. Um, I think for me at the time, resiliency was, just like uh, hardening my heart and not letting anything affect me and just being like, I'm just going to be like this person that, goes through and just like, I can survive, like, whatever you threw at me, God, like you can't kill me because I went through this and that and whatever. And just thinking that it was like, um, I don't know, maybe something more related. I never talked to anybody at the time, and I wish I would have. Now, like hindsight's 2020, obviously, but you look back and you're
Right,
just like, oh man, I could have benefited so much from just breaking this down with someone that actually like knew and understood, and wasn't like,
right.
oh, just bury your feelings deep down. It'll never manifest itself ever. Um,
Well, that was kind of in the time. It's not mental health.
yeah,
The acceptance and normalization of mental health is not
right,
that. I went and saw a first counselor. Like one of my best friends was like, "Well, you're not that weak, and you shouldn't go do that." So, I mean, that was a
yeah,
thing back
yeah. Oh, I'm
in the
sure I said that to
2000s.
people. I'm sure I
Right,
said that to people, and now I'm the peer support coordinator for the Des Moines Fire Department, and I'm like the biggest advocate. I'm like telling everyone, like, go talk to someone, go talk to someone.
right,
So
right. So
yeah,
again, I'm glad you did something with it. But yeah, at the time, it was just bury it down, gut it out.
yeah,
But the mindset I'm hearing was, but it's not going to get me.
yeah,
It might be heavily impacting me, but there was something about like you were tapping into a um
yeah.
pushing through the pain or just I'm gonna do something.
For sure. And I think
Okay.
resilience, like we talk a lot about, I have a friend that owns a company where they train people in resiliency on the fire ground. So, like,
Okay.
let's say I'm in a fire and, catastrophe, like something comes down on my legs are trapped, or a wire comes across my pack and I can't get out and I'm running low on oxygen, like, how do you get through that? Because the natural human instinct is to like panic, and so, like,
Right.
what are your steps that you go through? Well, you're gonna like, breathe, box breathe, whatever with your mask. You're gonna turn down the cylinder. You're gonna do stuff. You're gonna call a mayday. All these things. But if you're not thinking clearly, you're probably not gonna do any of those things. And I think with fire, like deaths, they found that like so many firefighters were in a rescuable spot, but they just freaked out. They were like
Man,
right next
okay.
to a egress point, but they couldn't say where they were at because they didn't do all
The
the things that
panic
are.
and the stress and that response kicked. Okay. So
Yeah,
the
and I've
panic kicked in.
read similar things about like, other people in like emergency situations. So I think that goes back to like resiliency in life a little bit too. Like if you
Mhm.
set yourself up to, be able to handle it, like it still is not a good thing. Like I don't want to be trapped in a fire and have to call a mayday. Like that's not
Right,
good.
obviously.
But like when you get to that point, am I prepared for that? Am I resilient enough to be like, okay, like I have a little bit of like knowledge to get myself through this. Like same with, like mental health, whatever, like, you know, okay, this is not good. Not in a good spot. Do I have the exercises, the techniques, the resources? Like, I know I have somebody that I can talk to on speed dial. I don't have to like go find a therapist at the nth
Right.
hour. I don't have to like figure out like, all these things. So, yeah, I think
So
like I can
that
parallel that
that's like the
resiliency.
multiple training, if I'm hearing you right. Like you put stuff in place. It's not just maybe people think about like it's just at the time. I'm a huge movie fan, so it's not like in the movies where like it's just you're in that spot,
Yeah.
you're just trapped in, you're just gonna push it out and it's gonna be this magical breakthrough. It's actually gaining some understanding of putting multiple things in place and like actual training, like you
Yeah.
train resiliency skills. So when, hopefully never, but if you find yourself or one of your other firefighting professionals finds themselves in that situation, they have something to tap into resiliently to
Yeah.
try to get themselves out of that situation.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, when the poo hits the fan, whatever level the poo is for you, for some people it's I'm trapped in a fire, I'm going to be burned alive. For other people it's like my car wouldn't start today, I'm going to be late for work. Like so
Right. It is what
whatever's
it is, right? The hard is the hard,
yeah, yeah.
right?
So like how do you get through that? Like how do you set yourself up to be like, okay, not a big deal. I know that in this moment I'm pretty stressed, but I can do XYZ. So,
Right. It's like that flip. Instead of, whether again, the most extreme example you used is you're finding yourself in a fire, your life's at risk, but you kind of lock in and shut down and go into that there's nothing. It's like that flip of going, okay, this is reality and and I'm gonna do
mhm,
something about it. Just like that mental shift
yeah.
you see as like resiliency outcomes, like it feels different or
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, just the ability to, be calm under pressure and, I don't know whether it's my emergency or your emergency or whatever. Like if I have the ability to, get through that, I don't know, just the tools and it's still going to be hard. It's still going to be I might still need a lifeline, a rescue, whatever, but like I set myself up to be in a better spot than, if I didn't.
right. Well, and I love that too, excuse me, because something I've coined in like my personal GGR space, I tell myself, so now it's gonna kind of be one of the sayings on the podcast. Problems are complex, solutions are simple, the work's hard.
Mhm.
To validate because sometimes I find we can simplify complex problems like just, well, this is the one thing, if we just did this, everything would be okay.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about, it's just one thing. There's multiple things playing into your early 20s that were causing you some stuckness,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the solution is simple. I've got to do some things to get some sort of movement for myself. Like I can't stay stuck,
Mhm.
right? And you did a few things at a time. And then, but I validate that too. The work's always hard. I found that effective in both my coaching and mental health practice. I use a ton of resiliency and and breaking it down like, okay, we can't fix this entire situation, but what's three things you can do this week so you feel a little more in control? And if it still goes all to crap, you can at least say, I at least did this.
Yeah.
And it's highly effective. And they're like, well, it's not easy. No, oh God, no. It's simple, it's not easy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Easier said than done. right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like it.
So, okay, I'm super curious because we didn't talk a lot about the time. What fueled the walk-on thing?
Oh,
We
just
talked about it, but I'm just like super curious because that was so all of us were just very surprised because I just didn't know that that was a thing you were interested in. So I'm just super curious about
yeah, I
that.
mean, it was like at the just kind of a goal for myself in college because I was going to Iowa State, and so I was like, I want to get fit enough to be able to, try to do this and see if I can do it. And so it was just, yeah, like a tangible goal with a timeline. So,
Right.
um, yeah, when you're in your early 20s, you're like, I can probably do anything. So, you're just like, shoot for it and see what happens.
Go.
So,
Right.
yeah.
That's awesome. What was it like? I mean, what did you experience?
I mean, it's a long story. Like, uh, Coach McCarney at the time was like, you are, um, like you're super fast, like you have the speed, but you don't have the size. And he's like, I can teach these other guys to get faster. I can't teach you to get taller. So, I mean, he was a cool guy, but he was like, you can work out with the team. So he let me do some workouts with the team. I never like dressed for
Yeah.
anything. But yeah, I mean, that was it. And then at the same time, my grades were crumbling, falling apart. But so it never really materialized into anything at all. But he was cool enough to meet with me and like talk me through that. And so,
Well, yeah, and I mean, I would say also perspective, it's a pretty small stinking part of the population that even attempts to not be recruited and walk in and try to get on a Big 12 college football team. Do
yeah,
you want to do on school, right?
sure.
Do you feel like even though you didn't end up being Rudy, right? Uh, what were your takeaways? Like what are some things you feel like you might have learned from that experience about yourself, about life?
Uh, uh, I don't know. Honestly, that's not, it's not a great, uh, yeah, I don't know. Not a lot.
Yeah. It was just
Not a
kind of
lot.
one of those things you did.
Yeah. I tried it and it didn't work out. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a great memory for me. So,
Okay. Fair enough. What about the runs? The 100 mile.
the runs, yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So, uh, that was, I did, was hanging out with a buddy, at my house, and we were talking about marathon. And so I was like, oh, I could do a marathon. Like, I'm a pretty fit guy. And he's like, oh, you don't realize how tough it is. Like, I don't know if you could do it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I could do a marathon. Like, how hard could it be? Like, it's just
Mhm.
26 miles. Like, you just don't quit. And he's like, no, I don't think you realize. So, the Des Moines Marathon was in like 2 weeks. So I just like sign up. I go down there. I mean, the internet was a thing, but like I didn't have like ready access to it. So like I just went down, signed up in person, and did the Des Moines Marathon, and it hurt. It sucked really bad. And he was
Yeah.
right. But then I'm like, well, I can't just let this be my only one. I have to like do better.
But you
So
completed it like
yeah, I
with,
completed it. Yeah.
with little to no training.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I'd been running, but not like
Yeah.
running any
Marathon
distance.
training
Like
I've heard is
probably like 5 miles was the max I'd ever gone.
okay.
So uh I'm like, well, I got to do another one just to better my time, and then that's it. So I do another one, and I actually got a little worse time. I'm like, well, that sucks. Like I actually trained for this and I did worse. Um, and so then uh I'm like, I'm never doing this stuff again. This is stupid. I get back and like I look up this race in New Mexico that's like the Baton Memorial Death March, and you have to wear a 40-pound pack and run a marathon. And I'm like, oh, I'll do that. That'll be cool. That'll be my last one. So I do
Okay.
it. And while I'm waiting to start, the guy's like, oh, how'd you hear about this? And I'm like, oh, I just Googled like hard races in the United States, and I just wanted to do a hard one. And he goes, well, you
Hmm.
should like look into ultra marathons. And I'm like, what's that? I've never even heard of that. And he's like, well, it's over a marathon. And I'm like, oh, okay. So like I get back home, I Google it, and it's like there's all these distances. The top distance is 100 miles. So I foolishly am like, well, I'm going to do 100 miles. Like, why would I do 50 miles when you can do 100 miles? Which again,
I just gotta pause, dude. Like,
looking back, I wish I
okay,
would have like,
hell, it's so cool though, Jace, because it like the casuality was like, well, duh. I just like I love that approach of like, just knowing how most myself included would be like, I'm going, why would you do 100 when you only have to do 50?
right. Yeah.
But so cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just okay,
Totally. And
marathon.
everybody's advice is like work your way up. Like do the, 50K, 50 mile, 100K, 100 mile, whatever, but I'm like, no, I can do this. Well, that was one of the most painful experiences of my life doing 100 miles the first time. But of course, then I was like, I gotta do better than that again. And there's, then once you get into that world of like ultra running and researching, like there's some cool stuff out there. So I did the Leadville 100 after that, and then I did another one, and yeah, I mean it's a different world. It's a different world of pain that you
What's the
experience.
like was there community? Just like what's it
Yeah,
like? I just have no reference point for it.
yeah.
So
I mean, it's like mm, that's a good question. There's a very unique group of individuals that do these. As you
okay.
could probably imagine, like people that are like probably not completely mentally stable if they're willing to go run 100 miles in the mountains or the desert. Um, and these races take, anywhere from 24 to 30 hours.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the pros are finishing way faster than that, but like
Yeah.
the golden standard is like 24 hours. A lot of the cutoffs are like 30 to 32.
Okay.
So, I mean, you're running nonstop for 30 hours at times. Or,
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, I mean, I really don't know how to describe. Like everyone's super cool, super welcoming. Like they're willing to share whatever information. There's not a lot of participants, so you like line up at the start line, and like if you watch highlights from the Chicago Marathon or New York City Marathon, there's like thousands and thousands of people.
Right.
Ultra marathon in the Black Hills, there's 50 people doing this or whatever. So not a lot. But I mean everyone's super cool, and it's like you
So
can
kind of some
camp.
community to it too.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's cool. It's a cool experience.
Well, okay, so that's super interesting because I'd be interested in your thoughts on this because one thing I've observed is, you know, the difference between collaboration and competition. And I've heard multiple things when it comes to athletes. And so it's so interesting to me because I'm not in that space at all. I played, joked on the first couple episodes, super tiny. I played football until they could pick me up and toss me. Because
Yeah,
I'm from a small town and that's just what you did. Um, but hearing, how collaboration and competition, how well, um, but the collaboration versus competition and how those play into each other and UGR. And so hearing that of you, naturally you would think it's a big competition and somebody wants to get first. So why would I share a secret? That kind of competition, but it sounds like it's way more
sure.
collaborative and community driven.
It is, yeah. And like I did an Ironman too, and that community seems more, and no disrespect to if anyone listening is a triathlete, but that seems way more like, I can't tell you what I'm doing or how I'm training or what I did because you might gain like a minute on your time or whatever, and that would hinder
Yeah.
me. And that was just my experience with like the groups I trained with. The ultra running community is like, uh you're just out on the trail in the middle of the night, and it's like pitch black in the woods, and you just come up on a runner, or they come up on you, and they're like, yeah, mind if I run with you for a while? And then 2 hours later you're just chatting, and by the end of it you're like exchanging contact information, and it's just like a wild, like, I've met a lot of really cool people through that. And um I mean, just people that are like, it's also an interesting world because you would know way more about this than me, but uh, so many ultra runners are like transferring an addiction of some sort.
Uh-huh.
Not all of them, but there's a lot. I mean, there's a ton of ultra athletes that are former like recovering alcoholics, recovering drug addicts, whatever, and they just found that like
They
running
can channel that.
crazy long distances, is their new like addiction.
Right.
And I've listened to podcasts, and some people are like, no, that's not. And others are like, well, I mean, it makes sense. Um, I mean, and that probably is true for me. Like, I think at times I probably have some obsessive compulsive, like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this new hobby. And I just jump in, and I'm like, I go hog wild at it for like, 5 years. And
Yeah.
then, I don't really run anymore, which is so funny because I'm like, if you asked me to do a 5K now, I'd be like, oof, like that'd be a challenge. I can do it, but you know. And then back when I was
Uh-huh.
running, if you were like, hey, let's go run for 5 hours, I'd be like, yeah, that's cool. I just did that twice this week, so
Right.
um,
Well, no, I agree. It's interesting you've had that experience with those folks, because that's when it comes, because I've been practicing mental health now for like I think like 15 years. And there's debates on some of that stuff. Again, I think diagnostics are a good tool to identify what might be going on with somebody. So like our big weird DSM mental health Bible, as it's joked in the community. Where I dislike it is where it gets so rigid, and it's such a deficit model, or it can be when used poorly. Like, again, I'm going unbroken, but like essentially that strict medical model is you are broken and we have to fix you. It didn't fit right with me. And when I got placed in victim status, like as the cancer survivor, that's one where the resilience, the grit really tapped in, is when I went and did Live Strong stuff, because it was a different mindset. We were cancer victims, just kind of what it was. And that's how I remember it. That's how, and I was a kid, so that's just how I was treated. Like, oh my God, like we're these
yeah,
poor people, poor souls to be taken care of and coddled. And it just didn't feel good. And and so to be able to flip out, and that's what I like. I'd like better models in mental health like that. It's transferable. So I had an interesting story from a uh, professor. I was at a continuing education conference, because we have to get so many CUs every couple years. And I wasn't too far out of grad school, and she was presenting on the DSM and diagnostics and everything. And something she said always stuck with me, that if what professionals skip with the mental health diagnosis is the impact on daily functioning. So it is in there that it, the symptoms, if you look at it that way, but the things people are presenting with, so it's depression, the sadness, the lethard, being lethargic and hopeless. If you have to also assess functioning. So she gave the example where she was diagnosed with OCD at one time, and she goes, so I was diagnosed with OCD, and so I used to do all the things. I did the traditional treatment, and at some point I go, well, I've got this. I'm just gonna write books. So I go
hmm
on vacation instead of doing the like calm mindfulness stuff. I go write a book because that
yeah,
helps my brain. And she goes, I'm functional now. So technically I don't have OCD anymore. So she goes, I still have these things pop up.
yeah,
And it was such a cool, I like the conceptualization so much better, because it
yeah,
it again taps into this type of space, resilient space of no, I'm not going to look at that as a definition of myself. I'm going to look
Yeah.
at my reality, but I'm going to channel it somewhere that feels better. Like
Mhm.
hear the, who's more accurate coming from a licensed mental health professional or a real person who's experiencing it themselves every single day? Like, I'll take
Yeah.
that. If I meet one
Yeah.
of your ultramarathon runner friends, they're going, yeah, I used to significantly abuse drug and I probably still would, but instead I've run. Like, it's healthy. It's a healthy management of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, channeling it, into something else that you're maybe, not doing this. Yeah. Not necessarily like cured of it or whatever, but it's like it's a different path. And it goes back to what you talked about earlier, like, is hard work. Like, is it easier to sit on my couch and drink alcohol? Yes, 100%. But
Right,
is it way harder to run 100 miles? Yes. But like that makes me feel better. So I'm channeling that addictive personality into this. And it's like I don't
right,
really consider it addictive because I love it and I feel good. And it's like the byproducts
right. And
overflow.
it's good
But
for
getting to that
me
point
and family, and it might
is hard.
inspire other people, right? And that's
Yeah.
the interconnectedness piece too.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, maybe that's a question now. How, if any, I guess, what have you seen as the rollout of your family as you've done these accomplishments? And I know you were inspired. Your dad he's a retired firefighter,
Mhm.
right? And so I know you you took some inspiration and some takeaways from your family, as we all do. But what have you noticed with maybe your kids now as they've gotten older? Like, this wasn't intentional, like, I'm going to be a family inspiration. Maybe you were.
No. No. Uh, I don't know. That's a good
Right?
question. I think
But
they
like
do
that
see.
impact, right? That like
Yeah.
ripple effect, that we do stuff and it rolls out and can affect other people.
Yeah. I think they do see what's possible and you can challenge yourself, and I mean, you kind of see it in glimpses right now through different things and just like fostering and facilitating, like, yeah, like whatever you want to do. It doesn't have to, you don't have to go run, like, but what do you like to do? And my daughter does choir, and she's been in uh, 3 operas now that are, like, really big productions, and it's so awesome. Like, I joke with people now, I'm like, "I've never been to an opera or knew anything about it." I would make fun of it, and now I'm kind of an opera connoisseur. Like, I love
Yeah,
it.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I love if you would be like, "Jason, you're gonna go to the opera someday," I'd have been like, "Nope, not a chance." And now I've been
I'm
to
pretty sure
3.
we in our youth were not. I mean, I'm sure we had jokes about the
Oh, yeah.
high
Yeah.
society.
Well, and I still laugh about it, like, so she was in Carmen 2 years ago, which is,
Okay.
like, one of the most famous operas, and, like, as I'm sitting there listening to it, I'm like, "Oh, I know that song. I know that song, all from Looney Tunes." Like, everything from Looney Tunes is like these, like, and you're like, "Oh, that's an opera song." So I'm like, "Yeah, I know opera. I've been a fan my whole life, I guess."
Yeah, huge fan.
Yeah. So, it's funny how that circles back. Anyway, yeah, I think they are like inspired to do their thing, and then I just try to be like, hey, whatever you're gonna do, like, do it. Like, don't just like you can dabble in some stuff, but like if you want to do something, like, let's do it. I will help you, whatever, as long as you're willing to put the work in. Like, I'll help facilitate that, whatever it looks like. So
Just
yeah.
that, like, we'll do things. We're not scared to do hard things
Yeah.
or exciting things, or we're just gonna go. It's more about the experience. And you kind of mentioned that that
Yeah.
like really embracing the experience
Yeah, for
when you're
sure.
doing something. Like,
Yeah.
what's that mindset like?
Oh man, I think it goes back to my parents. When my brother was sick growing up, my parents were really big on, we're gonna die with memories, not things. And
Okay.
we had no idea he was gonna pass away at the age of 12. And my dad, he was a firefighter, but in the 80s, they didn't make great money, public servants working for the government. And so, like, we took several trips, and, I remember and he still talks about it. Like he took out loans to be able to do this and paid them back for a long time, which I
Hmm.
know, if you listen to Dave Ramsey, that's a big no-no for stuff. You save up, do it, whatever. Uh, but I mean, I think being exposed to death, and we were just talking about this yesterday at work because so we had a guy that it was a DOA, and the daughter was there, and she was just like freaking out, like uncontrollably freak out. He was like 68 years old, but like she's telling us all the medical history he has, and he won't
Hmm.
go to a doctor. And you're like, well, I mean, no duh. Like, what? Are you surprised at this? And so we're just talking about how, like, if you've been exposed to death in your life,
Hmm.
I think you have such a different perspective of like, life is super short and
Hmm.
I want to have these experiences as opposed to like she was an adult like in her 40s and like this might be and maybe not like but if this is the first time she's ever been exposed to death, it's like
Right.
much more jarring than like, I I lived up the street from my grandma and she died when I was 12 of brain cancer and my brother died
Hmm.
when I was 18 and
Hmm.
you and I both worked at a children's cancer camp where every
Well,
summer you
yeah,
come
my first
back.
exposure to death was I mean, and that's a whole nother mindset I won't get into right now, but I mean,
Yeah.
first friend I lost to cancer was eight. We were eight, cabin
Yeah.
buddy, and he didn't come back to camp next year. Like we knew he was dying.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, how
yeah,
many
and how many, I mean, how many since then?
Yeah. Yeah, my kids don't know anyone that's I mean, they have been exposed to like adults dying. They don't know any kids
Right,
that have died. You and I knew a ton of kids that died. Like
right.
you more so cuz you had cancer, but anyway, so I think like the experience piece is like so in my mind, I'm constantly like telling my wife like let's travel. Let's take the trip. Let's do the things.
Yeah,
Um and we live very modestly because we want to do those things. Like my car is a piece of junk and people joke with me. They're like, dude, that old hearse is got like 200,000 miles on it. But I'm like, well, I don't want to spend 500 bucks a month on a new car payment. Like that thing's been paid
driving
off for
that
10
around when we
years.
can go, right,
Yeah,
when we
we
can
like
go
I can put
experience.
500 bucks a month towards a trip, even if that trip is just to go to Omaha for the weekend.
Right,
So yeah, I think experiential but or experience wise, like we want to do those things and whatever that may be. And so to me, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna like make a fun documentary movie, or I'm gonna make write a book, or I'm gonna go do a 100-mile race and just like be like, I did that. And so
right. Well, and I would agree. I think that's something I talked about. Sorry, I have a memory coming back. It's I think it's easier now, but it was a weird space to be in with that level of exposure. And I think for me, I mean, one difference was the reality is relapse fear that
mm,
just comes, especially after they kind of thought we were cured and then people are relapsing. It was the thing,
yeah,
resiliency thing I had to work through in my brain to get okay. But I, I remember riding with some buddies in college, and it was different because it was one of the first times I moved, and everybody in my hometown, like everybody knew I had cancer. I was like the cancer kid. Small town in Iowa in the 80s, like I was the
yeah,
only one in like three counties. So it's like, well, Jake's the cancer guy.
yeah,
And and so everybody knew that. And then we had camp, right? I had all the camp experience. So then I got a whole peer group full of people that's just part of what we went through, right? It was like death was just part of what we were going to experience as a community.
yeah.
And so it gave this different perspective, but we're writing down, and it was a camp conversation, like one we'd have, like, oh, what do you think? What songs would you want to play at your funeral? So this is just normal talk.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I'm writing down with a bunch of buddies. I don't know, we were going to like the mall or something. And I mean I was maybe 6 weeks into my first year of college, and some song pops on. It's like, oh yeah, this is one of the songs I think I'd play at my funeral. It was like in the
Like,
movies where,
yeah. The record scratch. Yeah. Yeah.
but I think, it does provide is it such a different experience, and everything's trade-offs, right? That's a hard you've got to go through at a young age that other people, like you said, it's typically in our country, you don't experience that at an intense level
Yeah.
until you're like mid 40s, 50s. If you're kind of middle class, access to healthcare,
Yep.
in relatively safe neighborhoods, that's probably not something you're gonna have a reference point for.
Yeah, for sure. And I have a very distorted, not distorted, but like different viewpoint from experiencing that. And now also as a
Is that
firefighter and
right?
paramedic, like to me, it's like not a big deal. Like yesterday, I saw two dead bodies at
Okay.
work. Like
Yep.
I'm not sure how many you saw at work yesterday, but I saw two.
Yep. No, but it's
So,
zero. I haven't seen a dead body at work for
so like,
quite some
uh,
time.
yeah, so like my wife, like people will be in mixed company and she'll be like, "Okay, now you're not with firefighters, so you can't have dark humor." And I'm like, "No, I won't. I'll be good." But it inevitably always comes back to people who are like, "Hey, tell us some stories." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not sure if you're ready to hear like, you
What
know."
the stories are. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, so not like sharing the stories like voyeurism kind of thing, but I'd be interested, in that community. How do you, some of the GGR stuff, like what do you do as firefighters to be able to continue to do that job and maintain a life, like a civilian life? Because I mean, I'd imagine it'd be a little in that military. There's a very intense thing you're doing in
Hmm.
a population of people that's completely different than everybody else.
Yeah.
And you're kind of also out in public. Like that's a good short example, right? Of that.
Yeah.
What do you all do just to try to stay, just cope and be resilient and be able to do that job? Like
Yeah.
that's a hard job to do, like the unique job to do.
Yeah, that's a good question. So uh for people not familiar, like uh we do fire suppression and then medical. So we have like 10 ambulances in our department at 11 stations. So like the medical piece is more than, occasionally you'll have like someone that's burned up in a fire, but those aren't as bad as like the medical stuff.
Okay.
Um I think traditionally in the fire service, like there's a super super high divorce rate among fire and police officers, and I think that
Hmm.
goes back to like people not properly dealing with it.
Hmm.
um our schedule doesn't really facilitate a great um like, so as I always say it's death by a thousand paper cuts. So it's
Okay.
like, I live in a constant state of sleep deprivation, like all the time. Like I
Mhm.
texted you this morning and said it was a bad night. Like I probably got an hour and 20 minutes sleep total last night. And
Okay.
hopefully I'm masking it well and I'll function,
Yeah.
today.
We appreciate like I certainly appreciate that. No, I wasn't picking up on it, but yeah.
No, it's so like, as a firefighter, you work 24 hours, you come home, and, maybe you've seen, like last night, I saw, a dude got shot multiple times,
Mhm.
and, this granny that was at the airport was like super sick, and like all these things, come back. I'm cleaning blood off my bottom of my shoes, and then I come home, and my wife's like, "Oh, hey, like, the kids have been acting up at school. We have a meeting with their teacher later today. I know we still need to talk about that one thing in our life. I need you to do the dry cleaning, the whatever, the whatever. I'm late for work. I got this big work meeting and I'm here by myself. Everyone's gone." And so it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to have a drink to calm my nerves and
Yeah.
that's it. And then it's just like I said, death by a thousand paper cuts. Like you just kind of keep going with that. And then before you know it, I'm like, oh, I'm drinking heavily at 10 a.m. every morning.
Right.
So, like on the peer support team, I try to tell people, like, kind of like what we talked about, like after you experience something really traumatic, you're not supposed to have alcohol for like 48 hours. Just stay away from it.
Okay.
Um, Make sure you get good sleep. I mean, you're not going to sleep anyway, but alcohol doesn't help with that. But try to get
Right.
good sleep. Try to go for some sort of a walk, get exposure to sunlight, all those things,
Okay.
work out, whatever the case may be. And sorry, I'm trying to like I'm trying to remember what you initially asked, what the official
Well, I
question
mean, this
was.
is right on track, right? Like, what do you guys deal with? And
Oh yeah, yeah. So I think just, creating that culture, and we're trying really hard within the fire department to just like normalize it and
so
being
like
like,
switching the whole code, because that, I mean, I'd imagine that's got to be a huge culture
yeah,
from what's traditionally how you do that job.
yeah. And we have
Okay.
like, I have like these older guys that'll be like, they'll come up to me in private and be like, "Hey, like I don't want to tell anybody, but like I went to see a therapist and it's super helpful. Like it's really good." And I'm like, "That's awesome. Like you could
Right.
share that with your crew because you're the captain of your crew." And they're like, "Oh, no, no, no. Like I would never tell them that." And it's like, I think I think these guys would be way more understanding than you think. And
Right.
B, like you're a leader, like step up
It
as a
sets the
leader.
tone. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I'm like, I try to tell everybody, I'm like, yeah, I go see a counselor. Like, this is something I struggle with, whatever. Make sure you're doing it right. And I think that new generation of people has no problem with that. They're more
Yeah.
transparent than,
It's,
like our
it,
generation or our parents.
right. Parents,
Um,
especially us, like I talked about, like that you don't go do that because then you're the messed up psycho
yeah.
person,
Yeah, for sure. But
right.
it's still
And
hard. I mean, there's still times
yeah.
where even I struggle with like, I've been around the block. I rode the ambulance full time for like 13 years. I don't do that anymore. But I mean, you've seen some stuff, but there's still every
Right.
once in a while like a call that you're just like, that kind of bothered me. I've been thinking about it a lot.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so I think you just have to, for me, I have to make sure like I let my wife know, hey, I had this call so that she's just aware of like, okay, if Jason is a little on edge, it's not because he's mad at me. It's maybe because he's thinking about this and she's great about, that. So I
Yeah.
think that open line of communication
But good for
helps.
you for that too, right? That's something that's, well, I mean, I think doing, because I did a big chunk of marriage counseling. That was a big part of the practice for several years. And and in your circumstance, kind of survival vital, but that's a good thing. Context is so important, right? Like we don't communicate just even that small. I would imagine it's gotta help Julie too, just that reference point, right? Of
Yeah.
you don't have to get into all of it, but hey, big night, like processing,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
for
That's
sure.
gotta go a long way,
Yeah. And I mean, we still have our moments, where it's like the communication breaks down and
right?
she doesn't realize or I neglect to say like how crappy it was. But yeah, overall I think that's a huge thing. Like I have to make sure she knows and understands where I'm at. And then she kind of already knows, that like I'm gonna have these things or I'm gonna have sleep deprivation when I come home. I'm tired on top of like all these, layers. So
Right.
yeah, but yeah, so I don't know. That's kind of how I deal with it is just making sure she knows, going and seeing somebody regularly. I have an appointment tomorrow. Um, I'm super proud of the fact that we were able to push within the last year. We now have check-ins. Every single person on the fire department can do an annual check-in,
Okay.
and whether you need it or not, it's just you go and you're just like, yep, here's my thing. And the doctor might be like, oh, yeah, after 20 minutes, you're good, man. I don't think we really need to talk here. Or it might lead to more. And
Right.
like, we really pushed for this. And I was like super excited to be at the head of that because I met with the police chief of Des Moines. And
Okay.
after the 2016 shootings. I know people be listening to this from different places, but there was two officers murdered in the city of Des Moines.
Yeah.
One was a Urbandale cop, one was a Des Moines cop, and then there was two Des Moines officers that were hit and killed by a drunk driver, all within a short time frame.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And so the police chief was like, man, he's like, I was bearing this weight, this cross, and I just didn't. He's like, I was just wanted my people to be okay, and I didn't know how to
Yeah.
do that. He's like, I wasn't involved in those calls, but I just was like, my heart was so heavy. And so he's like, I said, I'm going to lead by example, which kudos to him for doing that. So he went and talked to someone and made his executive leadership team do that. And he's
Okay.
like, I don't know what it is. He's like, that guy didn't listen, or sorry, that guy didn't say a word. He listened to
Yep.
me for an hour, and I walked out of there and I was like, man, I feel good about that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, he really implemented it with PD. So we
Yeah.
were taking a page out of his book, and
Okay.
I think it's been really good. We're just
Well,
rolling it out earlier this
and
year, so it's not even a year into it yet, but
and that is great. Well, and encouraging. So, oh man, sorry everyone, I'm coughing like that, but well, they're trauma debriefs. So that's a big like that's a big way to prevent post-traumatic stress disorder
yeah.
is debrief the like being able to process out like that's good trauma work regardless when I start, the nerdy mental health side of me. Uh, but it's such a plain thing and normalizing it, like making it just a normal thing of, hey, going and getting stuff off your chest with a private person, is good. And again, that's that caution. If it's helpful for some people to have like a big medical diagnosis thing, and that's helpful, like I'm all for that. I find generally people don't want to be weirded out by it. But that's it. I'd done some debriefs with local like companies would hire me to come in if they had a big, somebody, you know, an employee might have died somehow and just go in and I'd just be there and people would come in and just share out and breathe and go back. And it was like this
Yeah.
weight off. And so, yeah, that's super awesome. And that I like too, Jason, because it's the preventative work side that we forget to do sometimes. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it's something, but it sincerely is. That's keeping people out of really poor mental health states. If you
Yeah.
get into like the GGR, the growth side, like that's one small thing you can do consistently that'll help keep you healthy, do it. Like I've
Yeah.
got some clients that work came in a bad, because almost everybody comes in a bad space. It's like when you go to the doctor too. It's like, well, I've been walking around on this knee and it's hurt for like 2 years, so I thought I'd get it checked out.
Yeah.
Like
Right. Yeah.
it's kind of the same thing with most people that initiate counseling. It's like, well, how long you been feeling bad? I don't know, like 2 years. And in my head,
Hmm.
I was like, wish you would have come in. We're gonna help, but like, wish
Yeah.
you would have come in sooner. And that's what I found kind of what you're doing too is I've got a lot of clients that just do maintenance. Like they just schedule, I do that. I've got my
Hmm.
own counselor too, where I've got John on tap where if I got to, it's a hard job, different way. I listen to people's strategy all the time I process
Yeah.
it with them instead of experience it with them in real time. And and that's such a cool way. I'm so glad you guys are doing that because that's such a way that will help and it just that it makes it normal. Hey, we deal with some of the craziest crap that nobody else in that aren't firefighters get. Going in and debriefing that with one private person once in a while, probably a pretty good thing for us, as opposed to like you said, that's the alternative. It's not even judgment. That's what you gotta cope. Your nervous system gotta cope.
Yeah.
You gotta do life. So if you can find a way healthy to get it out of your system, versus
Yeah.
having to go home and suppress it because you still gotta like go engage life stuff.
Yeah. And we still do like a critical incident stress debriefing. So if we have like a really bad call,
Yeah,
we'll do it in a group setting, which it is good, but there's a place for it, but it's like there's not everyone feels comfortable talking. Um,
right.
some of
I
that I think is more just to get like the communication, like miscommunication out of the air. I was
right.
a part of one time where there was a someone had like gone down in their workplace, and they put the AED on them, and the AED said no shock is advised, continue compressions, and they were super mad because they're like, this stupid thing's broken, it's not working. Well, they didn't know that there's like different rhythms that you can and cannot shock. And
Right.
so like they were just like, we're super mad at the equipment. It's upsetting. And then paramedics get there. We put the stuff on them, still says, and we never shocked them. And they're like, why aren't you guys shocking him? So like that CISD was super beneficial because then they were like mad at us and we were not understanding why they were mad at us. We get in there, we talk it through, and then we explain it, and they're like, "Oh, okay, well, okay, that's we still lost this coworker, but we
Right,
understand now why
right.
that happened." Um, so yeah, I think the CISD is good, but the
It's
yearly
different. No,
check-in,
I
yeah,
like
for
that you're
sure,
doing that's important, but it's not this, it's just not the same for
yeah,
sure. So you guys are 100%, I'll tap into my professional side there. That's like 100% really awesome that you're all doing that. Man, I'm gonna have to go. I got somebody to
yeah.
meet with at 9 though. One last thing, what would if you just throw somebody out, so kind of like where we started, right? And somebody that might be feeling just stuck or overwhelmed or not feeling like they can do something big, what's a message you would hope that they could take away?
Yeah, that's a great thing. I think oftentimes, we get so overwhelmed with like the end product. And I know you always hear like, oh, it's the journey, it's the journey. But I mean, that really is true. Like, it doesn't matter how you get there, if you got there on the most straight line possible or literally like the curviest part. For me, now that I look back, like the journey in every instance was probably my favorite part as opposed to the destination. When you get to the destination, you're like, "Oh, that's just like the little cherry on
Right.
top of the dessert," but the whole dessert was like my favorite part. And I think, like you hear it a thousand times, like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So,
Yeah.
how are you going to get to this next step in your life? I don't know. Do something. Maybe you go for a walk for up and down the driveway once, and then tomorrow you do it twice, and the next day you do it 3 times. You
Right.
just start somewhere. I think that's all it is, and then before
That
you know it, you're like,
culmination of
yeah,
choices and experience.
yeah. You might be like, before you know it, I'm running marathons, and maybe that's not you, maybe you got bad knees, but maybe you're
But
like, "I wanna write.
making a
I'm gonna
movie,
write
I
1
want to
sentence,"
write.
you know?
Right.
Tomorrow I'm gonna
Right.
write 2. I'm gonna watch a YouTube video on it, but I'm gonna actually gonna do something. And then before you know it, you're like, man, I got all these sentences written down. I'm gonna put them together. So yeah, whatever it is, just start.
Dude, that's awesome. Man, I sincerely appreciate your time and gutting it out after an hour's sleep. I,
Oh, it's all
I
good.
I owe
It's
you
all
big on
good.
that one. But
Yeah,
and Jace, I'll have to have you back on if you're up for it. It was awesome
absolutely.
catching up. It's cool to hear this part of your life. It's not something, we catch up on life and stuff too, but it's cool to hear this part of your experience for sure.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and good luck with your practice and everything you're doing. I think it's awesome, man.
Yeah. All right. Take care, buddy.
Yep. Talk